Good morning, everyone. It is November 28th. Please forgive my cold that I'm fighting currently. Today is the 53rd day of the war between Israel and Hamas. The ceasefire between the two warring parties is actually holding up for a fifth consecutive day. Qatari mediators, who are playing a key role in these negotiations, announced yesterday that the ceasefire, which was originally set for 4 days and due to end this morning, has been extended for an additional 2 days. These ceasefire extensions are contingent on the release of about 10 hostages per day. On the fourth day of the ceasefire, which was yesterday, Hamas released 11 Israeli hostages, triggering this ceasefire extension. This followed the release of 13 Israelis on Friday, another 13 on Saturday, and 14 on Sunday. It is notable that some of the released individuals hold dual nationalities. One of the hostages was a 4-year-old American girl. There are still 9 Americans being held by Hamas. Some individuals who have been released from captivity reported that their food was limited to very basic diet of rice and bread. They were forced to sleep on chairs and benches in the floor due to a lack of proper sleeping arrangements and constant movement. There was an instance where one captive attempted to escape following the collapse of a building caused by an Israeli airstrike, and according to witnesses, this individual managed to elude capture for several days before being discovered and returned to the captors. Upon their return, the majority of these individuals, despite enduring such challenging conditions, appeared to be in relatively stable physical condition, albeit with minor non-life threatening injuries. However, there was a noticeable decline in their weight as they were considerably leaner compared to their state 50 days ago. Of particular concern is the severe lack of medical attention provided to older captives in need of regular life sustaining medications that they would normally take. There are videos released by Hamas where one of the captives, which was a young woman, was using crutches. She displayed visible discomfort as she boarded a Red Cross vehicle. Further televised footage on Monday showed that an 11-year-old boy who departed Gaza was in a wheelchair. An additional adjustment challenge that some of these people are facing is readapting to natural light as well, having been kept in complete darkness during the entirety of their captivity. As of the latest reports, 68 individuals have been released, and the exact number of remaining captives is uncertain, but estimates suggest that it could be around 150. While Hamas militants claim that some of the hostages have perished in Israeli airstrikes, there is yet to be verifiable evidence to support these assertions. Now, looking at the map, we're looking at northern Israel and the Golan Heights, and despite the ceasefire in Gaza Strip, which is in the south, the broader conflict does continue. Israel and the United States are proactively engaging Iranian-backed militias and have intercepted some 30 weapons shipments destined for groups like Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas, and others that oppose Israel. In northern Israel, activities of Iranian proxies hint at the potential plans for an assault through Syria targeting the Golan Heights, which is right here. Syria being over here, so the assault would come from this direction. Israeli intelligence has gathered that Hezbollah, in coordination with Syrian forces, is preparing for a joint offensive. Additionally, Houthi rebels who are aligned with Iran and based in Yemen, which when we zoom the map out, you can see is in the southern portion of Saudi Arabia here, have been firing missiles, continuing to be belligerent towards Israel and U.S. forces. This incident points to an intensification of efforts by the Houthis, potentially aimed at diverting Israel's focus away from Gaza and to other places, including in Syria and Yemen, to conduct fighting. The U.S. military has been actively countering threats in the region as well, with an intervention conducted by the destroyer, the USS Mason, in the Gulf of Aden, which is right here. Obviously, Yemen's right here. This is Saudi Arabia. Israel is that way. The USS Mason responded to a distress call from a commercial tanker that was overtaken by armed individuals in the Gulf. The tanker is a Liberian flagged vessel named the Central Park and was transporting phosphoric acid. It is managed by Zodiac Maritime and is a London-based ship management firm that is owned by Israel's Ofer family. U.S. Central Command reported that the USS Mason, which was assisted by Allied ships as well, demanded the release of the commercial ship from the attackers. Following this demand, the 5 armed individuals left the ship and tried to escape in a small boat. The USS Mason pursued them, leading to their eventual surrender. Additionally, during this incident, 2 ballistic missiles were launched from Houthi-controlled regions in Yemen at the USS Mason, but they didn't come close. They fell about 10 nautical miles away from the ship, causing no damage or injuries. In another significant incident, Iranian-backed fighters orchestrated an attempt to attack a U.S. base in Syria. This was in northern Syria, up in this region up here. Their plan included trying to kidnap an American soldier and launching missile strikes on the base. The U.S. Air Force intercepted the missiles and destroyed the terror cells behind the attempt. There was no American soldiers kidnapped. Additionally, U.S. forces launched a series of operations from northern Syria, targeting Iranian bases and destroying several airfields, which impairs Iran's ability to transfer weapons by air. Although unverified, there are reports that these operations resulted in the deaths of approximately 300 Iranian-backed militants. In a separate engagement, Houthi rebels mounted an attack on an Israeli vessel in the Persian Gulf and simultaneously launched a drone and missile assault on a U.S. aircraft carrier. The Persian Gulf is right here. This is where they were operating. The carrier effectively defended itself, thwarting the attack, and later retaliated against the Houthi positions. The specifics of the outcome of the counterattack, however, remain undisclosed. Additionally, on November 19th, a Japanese-operated cargo ship called the Galaxy Leader was seized by Yemeni Houthis in the Red Sea. This is the Red Sea right here. The takeover involved armed men boarding the ship from a helicopter and then raising the Palestinian and Yemeni flags. They did not raise a Hamas flag. The Galaxy Leader is owned by a company under Ray Car Carriers, part of a Ray Shipping, which is linked to Israeli businessman Abraham Ungar. The ship, which is an empty car carrier, had departed from Turkey and was en route to India via the Suez Canal. So it was traveling this way to move on to India, where it was intercepted south of Jeddah, which is right here. So it is somewhere in this region. It was intercepted. It is now docked in a port in Yemen, which is docked down here in the southern tip of Yemen. The Japanese company that operates the ship has formed a task force to gather information about the ship's 25-person crew. This crew consists of individuals from the Philippines, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Romania, and Mexico. There are no Israelis on board, but the Israeli government has labeled the incident as an Iranian act of terrorism and warned of serious implications for international maritime security, which, because of recent ship interdictions by the Houthis and others, has caused the cost of shipping through the Suez Canal and the Persian Gulf to rise. It is worth noting that the Houthis are not designated as a terrorist organization by the United States anymore. They were up until 2021, but President Biden reversed that designation in order to help get aid to Yemen for their civil war. After these recent events by the Houthi rebels in the various seaborne locations, the Red Sea, the Persian Gulf, and the Gulf of Aden, the White House says it's reconsidering designating Yemen's Houthi rebels as a terrorist group. Now, for the record, the official slogan of the Houthis is, and I quote, "God is the greatest, death to America, death to Israel, curse the Jews, victory to Islam." This is a group that is working closely with Palestinian Hamas fighters as well as Hezbollah to coordinate efforts to continue to apply pressure to Israel during the ceasefire in Gaza.